Alright, so ang topic na i-discuss natin for this lecture video is about consolidated financial statements, date of acquisition. Okay, so ang topic na ito, hinati ko sa dalawa guys, may part 1 and part 2 tayo. Okay, so dito muna tayo sa first part. Okay, sige. So, paano ba yung structure ng lesson natin on consolidated financial statements? Tatlo, tatlong parte ito. Number one, at date of acquisition. Okay, so yan yung nasa title natin, tama? Yung pangalawang parte ay subsequent to date of acquisition. And the third part will be intercompany sales. So, dito muna tayo magpo-focus for date of acquisition, no? Kasi masyadong mahaba ang topic na ito, kaya hinati natin sa tatlo ito, no? Okay, sige, date of acquisition. Now, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng consolidated FS? Ano kinaiba niya sa separate FS? Okay. Ang separate FS, guys, parang ganito lang yan, ano? Entity 1 may sariling FS. Entity 2 may sariling FS din. Entity 3 may sariling FS din. Okay? May sarili silang FS. Pero pag sinabi natin consolidated FS, okay? Lahat ng FS na itong tatlong to, okay? That will be formed into one financial statement. That is the consolidated FS of entity 1, 2, and 3. Nakuha? So, in simple terms, pag sinabi natin consolidated FS, kinombine natin ang kanilang financial statements. Now, what are the different conditions for consolidated FS? So, IFRS 10 tayo guys, no? Sabi sa IFRS 10, general rule is that financial statements are to be consolidated when a parent company owns over 50% of the voting common stock of another company, thereby having controlling interest. Magkakaroon ng controlling interest kapag ang ownership mo sa voting stock ng isang kumpanya ay over 50% na or 51% and 51% above. Tama? Exception. Control may also be achieved even with less than 51% of the voting stock is owned by the parent due to other factors and circumstances. So, ang general rule natin, kapag si company ay may hawak ng more than 50% ng voting stocks, ibig sabihin meron na siya agad control or controlling interest. Pero may exception din na hindi porke less than 50% ang hawak niya eh wala na siyang control. May iba pang factors and circumstances pang tinitignan. Or these are called qualitative factors. Okay? Consolidated FS at date of acquisition. Anong consto FS ang kailangan nating gawin as of the date of acquisition? That is, only the consolidated statement of financial position ang gagawin natin. Di ba? Okay. Sige. So, let's now move on to subsidiaries. There are two types of subsidiaries, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na fully owned and partially owned. Pag sinabi natin wholly owned, 100% si parent ang may hawak kay subsidiary. Pag partially owned, si subsidiary ay partially owned by parent and may tinatawag tayong non-controlling interest. Okay? Pero take note si parent dapat more than 50% of the voting common stocks ang hawak nito. Okay? Kasi ang NCI, minority interest na lang to. Nakuha ba? Yung non-controlling interest, tinatawag na ring minority interest. Okay? Sige, next. Similar to business combinations, under net asset acquisition, meron din tayong competing result of business combination dito, no? Or result of acquisition. The formula is very similar. Okay? So, nandiyan pa rin yung price paid. Alam naman natin kung ano laman nito, di ba? Ano laman nito, guys? Ulitin natin. Amount of cash paid, non-cash assets transferred kung meron, shares issued, and estimated liability on contingent consideration. Okay? Tapos, may dalawang papasok. May bagong players. Nandiyan yung NCI and the previously held securities. Later on pa natin i-discuss si previously held securities. Okay? I-ano muna natin si NCI muna. Na, isa-isa muna tayo. Then, fair value of identifiable net assets of subsidiary, yan yung FV na ni acquiree. Yan din yun. No? Tapos, andyan si goodwill and gain on bargain purchase. Alright? So, ganun pa rin naman yung rule. No? The sum of the price paid, NCI, and the previously held securities, okay, yung, paano ba to? Total, sabihin ko na lang, ay total cost na lang, na? Higher than FP na ni subsidiary, or total cost. Ay, ayan, FB na. If the total cost is higher than the fair value identifiable net assets of the subsidiary, meron kang goodwill. Pero kapag mas malaki ang FB na subsidiary, meron kang gain on bargain purchase. The same rule pa rin. Nakuha ba? Okay? Ayos tayo. Problem 1. So for problem 1, no, nasa handout natin yan. Okay. Problem 1. Saan na file ko? Ito. So, how much is the fair value of identifiable net assets of Spag Corp? And what is the amount of goodwill resulting from business combination on January 1, 2020? Madali lang to guys, no? Kasi wholly owned subsidiary ito, yun nga lang may pre-existing goodwill ito. Okay? So, ganito lang gagawin natin. Hahanapin lang natin itong mga components ng formula natin. Ready na? Sige. So, how much is the price paid? On January 1, Pasta Company paid 1,240,000 for all the issued and outstanding common stocks of Spag Corp in a transaction properly accounted for as purchase. So, price paid is solely cash. So, lagay natin dito. Next, may NCI ba? Sir, paano malalaman kung may NCI? May NCI kapag partially owned yung subsidiary. Tandaan niyo yan na magkakaroon lang ng NCI kapag ang subsidiary ay partially owned. Pero kapag wholly owned yung subsidiary, walang NCI. So that's why 0. No? Previously held securities, ibig lang sabihin yan, meron ka ng pre-existing ownership. Pero since dito sa problem, wala namang indicator, edi 0 muna siya. No? Mamaya na natin explain. So how much is the total cost? 1,240,000. Next, fair value of identifiable net assets of the subsidiary. Okay, so we are given the net assets of subsidiary. Magkano? 1,080,000. Tama? Now, para ma-compute natin yung fair value identifiable net assets, magsisimula tayo sa BV-na. Okay? Now, how much is the BV-na? Answer is, sir, yung 1,080,000, di ba yan ang BV-na? Answer, that is book value net assets, not book value identifiable net assets. Masyadong magkaiba sila. Tignan nyo, may goodwill, di ba? Pag ang acquiree mo may pre-existing goodwill, you will have to exclude that. exclude mo yung goodwill. So therefore, you need to remove that goodwill from the net assets of 1,808, I mean 1,080,000. Okay? Nakuha nyo? So, tanggalin lang natin. So, magkano na lang natitira? That is 1.08 million minus 200,000. So, this is 880,000. Tandaan niyo yan. Dapat na kayo. Alert, pre-existing goodwill, exclude. Kasi unidentifiable siya. Okay? Now, tignan natin kung may mga i-adjust tayong accounts. On January 1, Spag's inventory had a fair value of 300,000 and the property and equipment had a fair value of 760,000. Okay, so there are two accounts. Inventory, fair value 300 daw pero ang naka-record 360. So anong gagawin ko kay inventory? That is, babawasan natin si inventory. Magkano? 300 minus 360. So, bawas tayong 60 sa kanya. Rules are still the same, guys, na? Yung basic account equation. Balikan nyo siya sa business com natin, na? Next, property and equipment, fair value 760. Eh, magkano yung naka-record? 640. So, dadagdagan natin to. Property and equipment, 760 minus 640. So, this is, magkano to? Tama ba? 120? Is it 120? Yes. Dagdag 120. Okay. So, magkano ang fair value identifiable net assets ni subsidiary? Alright? So, 880 minus 60,000 plus 120. 940,000. Eh, di ba yun na yung tinatanong ng number 1? How much is the fair value identifiable net assets of Spag Corp? So, ito na agad number 1 natin. O, di ba? Tapos agad yung number 1. And the last one, what is the amount of goodwill arising from business combination? 1.24 million minus 940, 300,000. Is it really goodwill? Yes, kasi mas malaki yung total cost. So this is goodwill. Very good. Dapat alam na alam niyo yan. Kasi the same concept siya sa business combination natin. No? Alright. Next. Bago tayo dumako sa problem 2. Kasi sa problem 2, kita na natin na ano siya, partially owned. So, ang magiging issue natin dito ay si NCI, no? So, dapat alam natin kung paano yung accounting natin when it comes to non-controlling interest. Now, how do we measure NCI at date of acquisition? Guys, dapat alam nyo kung paano to i-measure sa simula pa lang. Kasi pag once pumasok tayo ng subsequent to date of acquisition, madadagdagan yung concepts. Baka maano kayo, malunod kayo. No? Kaya dapat dito pa lang alam niyo na kung paano to si NCI. No? So, IFRS 10 provides two options. At fair value or at the proportionate share of the acquiree's identifiable net assets. Tatandaan nyo lang, the general rule, no? The general rule, NCI must be measured at fair value. Tandaan yan, ang NCI natin, mini-measure yan at fair value. No? Nakuha ba? Now, may exception. There will be two exceptions. Number 1, the parent company opted, okay, opted to measure NCI at proportionate share, which is ito yon, yung second option, no? Kasi ang ano natin dyan is sabi naman ni IFRS 10, may option ka naman, no? I-fair value mo siya or proportionate share. So kapag gusto ni parent na proportionate share sa NCI, wala tayong magagawa. Susundin natin yung gusto niya. Okay? Ang second exception, proportionate share is higher than the fair value of NCI. Yan ang tatandaan nyo. Dalawa ang exception, no? Number one, gusto ni parent, i-measure at proportionate share. And the second exception, proportionate share is higher than the fair value of the non-controlling interest. Naintindihan niyo ba? Okay? Yan ang dalawang exception natin. Clear? Sige. I-apply natin. Case to case. Problem 2. So, ilang cases si problem 2? May tatlong cases? Ay, hindi. Apat pala. Hindi ko nakita yun. Oo, apat. Okay, sige. So given sa problem 2 ay number 1, no? Ownership interest purchase, 75%. Amount paid by the parent company to acquire the 75% ownership, 900,000. Fair value identifiable assets of the acquiring company, okay, and the fair value laid. So, di ba? Lahat given eh. Case 1, assume that the parent company opts to measure NCI at underline fair value. Fair value of the NCI at acquisition date is determined to be 350,000. How much is the share of the acquirer's identifiable net assets? At what amount shall the NCI be initially measured and how much is the result of business combination? Okay, walang problema yan. Number 1, fair value of the acquirer's identifiable net assets. Madali lang yan. FD, identifiable assets, less fair value liabilities. So, magkano to? That will be 1.6 million less 600,000. As simple as that. Makukuha mo na si FD na subsidiary. 1 million. That's your number 1. Number 2, at what amount shall the NCI be initially measured? Okay, so dito tayo, no? Anong sabi niya? Assume the parent company opts to measure NCI at fair value. Okay. Given ba yung fair value na NCI? Yes. So, latag natin. Fair value NCI, magkano to? 350, no? Yan na pasagot sa number 2, sir. Since choice naman ni parent na i-measure si NCI at fair value. Answer, not yet. Not yet. In fact, kailangan nyo pa mag-ingat, no? Kasi kahit gugustuhin ng parent na i-fair value ito, pero kung mas mataas ang proportionate share, magpo-proportionate share ka. Kasi isa yung sa exception kanina. Tama? So, compare natin siya sa proportionate share. Paano kinocompute ang proportionate share, sir? Alam niyo ba kung paano yan kinocompute? Not yet sa ngayon. So, paano ba? That will be FD na subsidiary times non-controlling interest percentage. That's the formula for the proportionate share. Okay? So, magkano yung FD na? 1 million, tama? Tapos, what's the NCI percentage? Kung hawak na ni parent 75%, what's the minority interest? 25% na lang, no? 25%. Magkano to? 250,000. So, lagay natin. Okay, compare. Fair value 350, proportionate share 250. What's the higher amount? 350. And this is the only time na ito ang ipa-finalize na sagot. 2 si 350. Nakuha ba? Sir, kailangan ba talagang i-compare palagi, Ken? Yes, kailangan i-compare. Kasi baka mamaya mas mataas pala si proportionate share. Patay tayo dyan, no? Sanayin yung sarili niyo mag-compare, lalo na mag-preserve value yung measurement niya. Okay? That's for number 2. Number 3, how much is the result of business combination? Okay. So, how much is the price paid? Price paid? Magkano yung binayad niya daw? 900 ba yun? Yes. 900,000, that is for 75% ownership. Plus, non-controlling interest, which is for 25% interest. Magkano yung kanina? 350. Di ba? Ang ano natin, previously held securities, wala muna, wag muna natin pasok. No? Yan muna tayo. So, magkano ang total cost? That is 1,250,000 versus FB na subsidiary. Tandaan nyo guys, si FB na subsidiary, that is always equivalent to 100%. Okay? So, minus 1 million, how much is the difference? 250. Tawag dyan. Mas mataas total cost, edi may goodwill ka. Okay? Ganun lang. Ha? Huwag kayong malito sa ginawa natin. Sir, bakit kailangan i-add yung NCI sa price paid? Kasi guys, no, tignan niyo yung FV na 100%. Incompatible naman kung ang i-compare mo sa 100% ay 75% lang. You need to add 25% para mag-compatible yung i-compare natin. Yung total cost, it must be 100%, not just only 75%. Okay? Nakuha ba ako? Ayan. So, that's for case number 1. Let's proceed to case number 2. Assume the parent company opts to measure NC at fair value. Ano kinaiba niya sa case 1? Ang kinaiba niya lang sa case 1, walang given na fair value dito. Okay? Pero gusto ng parent ay gusto niya pa rin i-measure at fair value. So, number 1, at what amount shall the NCI be initially measured? So, paano natin malalaman yung fair value ng NCI in this case? Okay? Paano natin malalaman yung fair value pag hindi given, sir? Pag hindi given ang fair value ng NCI, you need to compute for the implied fair value. Okay? So, paano kinocompute ang implied fair value? That is, price paid minus control premium. Later on, didiscuss ko po ano yung control premium na to. Divided by ownership percentage times NCI percentage. Ganyan ang gagawin nyo kapag hindi given si fair value, no? You will have to compute for the implied fair value. Sir, ano yung control premium? Yung control premium, that is a premium payment or an additional payment to acquire the ultimate control. Okay? It is an additional premium para ma-acquire mo yung ultimate control ng subsidiary, no? Ang treatment sa control premium, capitalizable kasi siya. Ha? Control premium is capitalizable Pero for the purposes of computing the implied fair value, kailangan yung i-exclude mo na siya. So as not to distort the fair value of NCI. Kasi yung mga NCI, hindi naman nagbayad ng control premium yan. That's why, inaano natin siya, in-exclude. Okay? Sige. So, going back, paano natin kukumpitin yung implied fair value? How much is the price paid? That is 900,000. May control premium ba? Wala. So minus 0 divided by ilang porsyentong in-acquire ni parent? Di ba 75 times NCI percentage 25%. So how much is the implied fair value? 900,000 divided by 0.75. 1.2 times 25%. So this is 300,000. So the implied fair value is 300,000. Yan na ba sagot? Not yet. Anong sabi ko kanina? Pag fair value measurement, always compare with the proportionate share computed as FD na subsidiary times NCI percentage. Ano ba yung FD na subsidiary kanina? 1 million. Walang magbabago doon. Times 25%. 250. And peak whichever is higher, which is 300,000. So, ang sagot natin for number 1 is 300,000. Okay? Ayos, nakuha niyo na? Sige. Case 3. Assume the parent company opts to measure NCI. Teka, nasagot ko na ba? Teka, hindi pa yata tayo tapos, no? Na-exit ako sa case 3 eh. Yun. Sabi na may nakalimutan tayo eh. Result of business com. Okay. Price paid is 900 plus NCI, magkano? 300. Okay? So, magkano to? 1.2 million versus the FV na subsidiary, which is still 1 million. There is 200,000 goodwill. Final answer for number 2, 200,000 goodwill. Number 3, case 3. Assume that the parent company opts to measure NCI at its proportionate share. Take note, choice niya nang i-measure at proportionate share. Tama ba ako? So, for number 1, ang gagawin mo talaga is no need to compute for the fair value but rather kunin mo lang ang proportionate share, which is 1 million times 25%. So, final answer for number 1 is 250,000. Tapos agad ang kwento. Ganun lang yun. No? Tandaan niyo yan, ha? Pag choice na ni parent na i-measure yung NC at proportionate share, di sundin mo na. Okay? Number 2, result of business combination. Price paid still at 900,000. NCI, yung sagot lang natin kanina. So, magkano total? 1,150,000 versus the FD na subsidiary. So, there will be 150,000 goodwill. Di ba? Madali lang, no? Okay. Case 4, the last case. Assume the parent company opts to measure NCI at fair value. Balik tayo sa fair value. Fair value is given 220,000. Okay. At what amount shall the NCI be initially measured? Number 1, Gusto i-fair value, edi ano natin, magko-compare ulit tayo, 220 versus proportionate share, which is 1 million times 25%. Pick whichever is higher. So, sino higher? 250. So, ang sagot mo for case 4 is 250,000 proportionate share. Ay, ganun talaga, sir. Talagang magko-compare ka whenever na i-measure mo na yung NCI fair value. Answer is yes. Na? Okay? Ganun lang. Madali lang yun. Di ba? Nakita niyo naman kung paano in-apply, no? So, for number 2, sagot niyan ay the same. Okay? The same yan sa case 3 natin. Ang sagot dyan si Goodwill, 150,000 pa rin. Okay? Alam niyo na yan. Problem 3, case to case na naman. Pero dito, may control premium na. So, mas nalalim tayo dito, no? Okay. So, case 1, consideration paid includes control premium. Ayun, nako, yan na. Sige. So, ganito gawin muna natin, guys, no? Kasi paiba-iba yung cases natin. Alamin na muna natin yung fair value identifiable net assets. Okay lang? Sige. Let's start. Gusto natin malaman yung fair value identifiable net assets. Okay. So, book value identifiable net assets of subsidiary, that is 2.7 million minus 525,000. So, magkano yon? 2,175,000. Then, tignan natin kung may mga accounts ba tayong kailangang i-adjust. Land have a fair value of 2.1 million and the building increased by 480,000. Dalawa lang. Okay. Sige. Land. May fair value daw sila na 2.1 million. Magkano yung nakarecord sa kanya? 1.32 million. So, 2.1 million minus 1.32 million. Magkano yung i-increase natin for the land? 132. Okay. 780. Then, for the building, sabi naman nag-increase siya, no? Magkano ang increase? That is 480. So, paki-add lang yan, yung tatlo. 175. Wait, so, 2,175 plus 780 plus 480. So, magkano ang FD na subsidiary? Alright. Yan ang starting point natin. May FD na tayo. Okay? Sige. Now, ilang porsyento ang in-acquire ni Jam Corp? 80% for 3 million. And the NCI is measured at fair value. Naku po, ayan na naman. Sige, case 1. At what amount should the NCI be initially measured on December 1, 2020? Okay, gusto daw fair value, no? E di bigyan natin of fair value. Number 1. So, gusto niya ng fair value. Given ba? Hindi, no? Tama ba? Hindi. So, you need to compute for the implied one. So, let's compute dito sa taas. That is 3 million. Tama? Yan yung binili niya eh. 3 million. Kaso, ang sabi sa case 1, consideration paid. Take note, includes control premium. So, we need to remove the control premium for the purposes of computing the implied fair value so as not to distort the fair value. Divided by 80% times 20%. Kasi kung may 80 siya, edi 20 na lang ang minority. Okay? Oh, 3 million minus 852,000 divided by 0.8 times 0.2. So magkano ang fair value? 537,000. Okay. Versus, compare proportionate share. So that is 3,435,000 yung na-compute kanina times 20%. So magkano to? 687,000. Whichever is higher. Higher, 687. Final answer for number 1 is 687,000. Number 2, alam na natin to, no? Goodwill. Okay. Price paid. Magkano price paid? Kailangan ko ba tanggalin yung control premium? Answer? No. Wag na. Kasi sabi ko capitalizable yan. So, walang kaso. No? Plus NCI, 687,000. Okay? Yeah. Versus FD na subsidiary. 3435. So, alam natin may goodwill to. Kasi mas malaki yung total cost, no? So, 3687 minus 3435. So, magkano goodwill? 252,000. Sagot, number 2, 252,000. Case 2. Consideration paid excludes control premium 138,000 and the fair value of the NCI is 736,500. At what amount should the NCI be initially measured? Okay, no problem. FB, as per given, 736,500. Compare pa ba? Of course, kasi alam natin na gustong i-measure ito at fair value. Magkano? Magkano yung kanina? Sige, compute na lang. 3,435,000 times 20%. Di ba 687,000 to? Pick whichever is higher. 736,500. Number 1, 736,500 ang sagot. Then for number 2, how much is the goodwill? Suyang-suya na ba kayo? Kailangan lang natin siyang mai-practice. Na? Oh, price paid. Magkano price paid niya? Kano nga ulit yun? 3 million. Tama ba ako? Ayun, 3 million. Now, consideration paid excludes control premium. Do we still have to add this? Answer, yes. Kasi capitalizable. So, 3,138,000 yan. Huwag niyo kakalimutan. Dahil naka-exclude, include natin. Okay? Plus NCI, 736,500. Alright. Sige. So, magkano yun? 3,874,500 versus FB na subsidiary 3,435,000. Goodwill pa rin. Magkano? 439,500. Clear? Okay. Case 3. Consideration paid includes control premium 222,000. Okay. Since NCI is to be measured at fair value pa rin dahil nasa original information siya, FDNCI given? No. So, compute natin. Wala tayong choice. Magiging 3 million minus the included control premium divided by 80% times 20%. So, magkano to? That is that 694 500. 694 500 versus the proportionate share. Oh, magkano yung proportionate share? That is 687,000. Pick whichever is higher, 694. So answer natin sa number 1, case 3, is 694 500. Then lastly, for number 2, price paid. Since included naman daw, edi 3 million na ulit, yeah. Hindi na natin kailangan i-add kasi included na. NCI, 694,500. So total is 3,694. Okay. FD na subsidiary is 3,455,000. So, goodwill pa rin. All the way goodwill. So, magkano to? 2, 5, 9, 500. Ayos. Master na. Date of acquisition. Ayos yan. Oh, eto na. Patapos na tayo. So, for the measurement, sa presentation ng NCI, no? For the presentation of NCI, how do we present non-controlling interest? NCI is presented under shareholders' equity in, take note, consolidated statement of financial position. Ang NCI hindi nagpapakita sa separate FS ni parent company. Ha? Hindi siya nagpapakita sa separate FS ni parent. In fact, hindi talaga makikita yan sa kahit anong separate FS. Magpapakita lang yung NCI sa consolidated statement of financial position. No? So, paano siya pinipresent sa shareholders' equity, sir? It is presented in total. Ibig sabihin, one line item lang siya. NCI will be presented as a one-line item in the consolidated statement of financial position. Gets? Ganun lang. Ha? Tandaan niyo yan. Hindi na yan i-break down into share capital, share premium, and retainers. No. One-line item lang as NCI. Oh, step acquisition. Ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo kanina na bumili ka ng shares dati at dinagdagan mo ngayon. So how do we account for the previously held securities? That is, to be remeasured at fair value at date of acquisition. No? Fair value at date of acquisition. Okay? Problem 4, the last problem. Ilan ang tanong for problem 4? May 5, no? Oo, kaya ito. Sige. So, how much is the total ownership of Proctor over SRAM Corporation at date of acquiring control? Tignan natin. Number 1. Proctor acquires 25% of SRAM Corporation's ordinary shares for 190,000 cash, carries the investment using the cost method. After 3 months, Proctor purchases another 60%. Na? So, ang nangyari, meron siyang previously held security ng 25 Tapos, nag-add siya ng additional percentage, which is 60%. So, ilan ang total? 85%. So, yan ang total ownership ni parent. 85%. That's your answer for number 1. Number 2, how much is the minority interest? Okay. So, kung may 85% si parent, ilan na lang natitira for minority? 15%. So, number 2, 15%. Yan. Number 3, at what amount should the previously held securities be valued at date of acquisition of control? Oh, anong sabi kanina? Remeasure at fair value. Okay? Remeasure at fair value. Given ba ang fair value neto ni previously held securities? Wala. So, paano natin malalaman ang fair value nito? Okay. Pag hindi given ang fair value ng previously held securities natin, you will have to compute for its implied fair value. Okay? You need to compute for the implied fair value. Paano natin kukompute yung Excel? That is, price paid minus control premium. Yun pa rin yun. Kung ang price paid may lamang control premium, paki-exclude so as not to distort the fair value of the previously held security. Divided by additional percentage ownership multiplied by previously held interest percentage. Okay? So, substitute natin. How much is the price paid for the additional security? 540, no? Dito na lang sa taas. 540, may control premium? Wala. Divided by, ano yung additional interest niya? 60% times 25%. So, magkano to? 225,000. So, our answer for number 3 is 225,000. Alright? Number 4. Dito na lang, sa taas. At what amount should the NCI be initially measured? May given ba na fair value? Yes. May sinabi ba kung ano yung measurement? Wala. So, we assume the general rule is a fair value nito. So, magkano fair value NCI? 125,000. Need to compare? Of course. Oh, proportionate share. How much is the FD na subsidiary? Oh, FD na subsidiary, nasa third to the last sentence. SRAM Corporation reports identifiable net assets with carrying value 720 and 920 fair value. Liabilities, 280,000. O magkano ang FD na? Ay, sir, alam na namin yan. Kanina mo yung pa tinuturo yan eh. 920 minus 280. Answer is wrong. Bakit wrong? Kasi yung 920 pa lang guys, identifiable net assets na siya. So, paki-underline yan. Napakahalaga nun. No? So, hindi mo na kailangan i-deduct yung liabilities kasi deducted na siya in the first place. No? I-deduct mo lang yung liabilities kapag ang given ay identifiable assets, not net assets. Yes? So, 920 times 15%. That is 138,000. Get whichever is higher. 138. Naku po, grabe yun. No? Kung di mo napansin yung net assets, patay tayo dyan. 920, yun na pala yung halaga. No? That's the twist of this problem. Alright? Kuha ba? Oh, how much is the result of business combination? Sige. Magbubura lang ako ng konting portion dito. For number 5, price paid. Magkano? Magkano yung price paid? 540. Okay. That's for 60%. Previously held securities, 225,000. That's for 25%. And the last one, NCI, for 15%, 138. Magkano total nito? Magkano total niya? 903,000 dito. Versus FD na subsidiary, which is 920. Difference, 17,000. Dahil mas malaki ang FD na subsidiary, this is gain. Not goodwill, gain. So, sagot natin sa number 5 ay gain ng 17,000. Ayos ba tayo, guys? Buhay pa kayo? And that's the end of our part 1. Sa next video natin, part 2 tayo. Ha? Okay? Pero ano yun, guys, date of acquisition pa rin yun. No? Hindi pa subsequent. Meron pa akong i-discuss for date of acquisition. Alright? Sige. See you in the next video.